Massive spoilers for both Xenoblades 1 and 2, because I realized something really interesting when it came to the XC2 crew's driver arts when equipping Shulk as a blade. This is going to be another using Alvis's Ontos related evidence thing here, but I'm not going to try to explain it or argue about it more past this because I made a bunch of videos leading up to it. I made an actual Ontos video. I think at this point I've earned the right to say I believe Alvis is Ontos, you can't convince me otherwise, and in all future videos on this channel I will be assuming that it is fact. I also think I've proven beyond a reasonable doubt that it was at least developer intention for him to be Ontos. Whether or not you believe it or not, that's a bit more up for debate, but it does play in to what I'm going to talk about here. The Shulk and Fiora DLC in Xenoblade 2 as a whole is pretty complicated because, while it's obviously not canon on either side, you've got Shulk and Fiora showing up with their designs and equipment from the beginning of the game. And yet, they've met all the other party members, Fiora's been mechanized and turned back, they acknowledge having defeated Zanza and even Alvis's final words to them, and yet the only world they know is Bionis and Mechanis and not the new world Shulk creates at the end of the game. So that's all weird, but what else is weird is that certain drivers, in addition to Shulk's specials just outright being Monado arts, also get Monado named arts, or ones with Monado and then a thing, when they're using the Monado as a weapon. Now, as a weapon in Xenoblade 2, the Monado is technically its own class, but it's actually just the shield hammer animations but sped up, and the weapon itself is a reskin. A lot of the DLC weapons did that. It's par for the course, basically, but I guess the shield hammer animations just made the most sense, because weirdly enough, the hammer is the most sword swing-like common blade weapon in the game. So that's interesting. But what else is interesting is that, out of the 4 drivers who can equip Shulk, only 3 of them have Monado arts, and only Rex has more than one. He gets Monado Shield, which is the only old Xenoblade 1 Monado art that actually shows up as a driver art here, Monado Storm, Monado Burst, and Monado Beat. Nia gets Lightning Smash, Monado Striker, Lucent Glance, and Beam Thrust. Morag, the only character to not have a Monado art, gets Sudden Smite, Blade Masquerade, Echo Edge, and Steel Brand, while Zeke gets Monado Shield shared with Rex, which is interesting in that it's the only driver art to exist between multiple characters in the game, and also Helios Circle, Ragnarok Slash, and Nemesis Beat. So, what's weird about this? Well, first off, Morag is the only one to not have any Monado arts. And this is kind of weird until you realize that, to the point of view of the Xenoblade 2 drivers, the Monado is just an extremely powerful blade weapon. They realize that it's not exactly the fact, but Shulk is functioning as a blade for them, so they're treating it as a blade weapon and an extremely powerful one. It kind of makes sense then that the only people capable of drawing out its full power in the form of Monado arts are a Blade Eater, a Flesh Eater, and the Master Driver. So that actually makes a little bit of sense, at least lore-wise. Again, I don't actually know if Xenoblade 2, like 1, has the art names the same between English and Japanese, so this might have been a translation thing that was completely made up, but it's here, and I'm treating it as if it's official. But the cool part is Rex. Why does Rex get 4 Monado arts when the other 2 only get 1? Well, if you think about it, barring New Game Plus, the earliest you could possibly unlock Shulk and Fiora is after having completed Chapter 3, which means not only have you had Pyra for a while now, but you've also done at least one fight with Mithra, which means Rex is experienced as the driver of the Aegis, which also means he's experienced with using a Monado, and as such, he'd already know how to instinctively draw out its power and tap into the Monado arts, because again, Shulk's Monado does work a bit different from the Aegis swords, but using it is probably instinctively still the same. So yeah, that was a cool thing I found out about. I didn't really discover it, it was pretty obvious from the get-go, but yeah, I saw that, I was like, hey, I should make a video on that, and so I did.